Well, over the weekend I had the opportunity to visit our troops who are fighting in Operation Epic Fury. We were on the ground, or rather at the CENTCOM on Saturday for about half the day. For operational security reasons, so that these troops are not targeted, the locations and bases will not be named. It's enough to say that the trip was an honor. I had the unique opportunity to witness, and I was able to see up close the best of America. I witnessed warriors, a brotherhood of men and women, all warriors, from active duty, the Guard, and the reserves, united by mutual love, shared purpose, and commitment to the mission. I witnessed pure competence. I saw a private first class confidently calling out the trajectory of an enemy missile. To a room full of officers, everyone was focused. Everyone in the room was completely focused. 2 enemy missiles were successfully shot down. I had the opportunity to talk with Air Force and Navy pilots right on the runway who, as part of their daily routine, both drop bombs inside Iran and shoot down drones to defend their base. Many of them had recently returned from the skies over Iran and the capital Tehran. I put on a headset and spoke with a crew in the cockpit, ready to take action every day. I witnessed ingenuity, American ingenuity. I met the young Army officer who figured out how to neutralize maneuvering enemy missiles, saving countless lives. His commander confirmed that cheers and applause erupted in the Tactical Operations Center when his new approach succeeded for the first time. I met the Air Force intelligence analyst who refines targets faster than the enemy can adapt. Actually, I gave him my card and asked him to keep me informed about the real situation. I ended up doing exactly the same thing with his boss, a retired colonel with a heart as big as Texas and a perfectly groomed mission-style mustache to match. I witnessed lethality. I met a young aviator as the sun was setting and the cold was starting to take over the runway, who, when asked what they needed, simply looked at me with a mischievous smile and said, "More bombs, sir, and bigger bombs." We will gladly fulfill her request. I met the Army's targeting team that found and sank the pride and joy of the Iranian Navy, with their combat station covered in pictures of sunken enemy ships. And I witnessed urgency. As soon as we landed, another C-17 touched down just a few minutes after us. And within 30 seconds after the aircraft came to a complete stop, a ground crew arrived and the cargo began to be unloaded. Wartime speed. From every man and woman on the ground, in the air, on the flight line, and in the Tactical Operations Center, I heard, "We want everything faster, a higher operational tempo, wartime speed." The feeling was exactly the opposite of the non-rotational units year after year in the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, which we are so familiar with. In those wars, everything revolved around the next rotation, never knowing when the mission would end or exactly what the mission was, year after year. Not with Epic Fury. I witnessed an urgency to get the job done, an urgency to achieve mission success without thinking about the next rotation. Just moving as fast as possible to win. I had the opportunity to review the troops, to witness firsthand what we already know to be true. I spoke with people of every rank and from every service, none of whom knew we were coming. It wasn't rehearsed or scripted, sometimes we just wandered around. What I witnessed was motivation. It was pure focus on the mission. It was the American warrior unleashed. It was the kind of American warrior spirit that emerges with a clear mission against a determined enemy. A team leader we flew with summed up the situation well. He said, "It was a hectic few weeks, sir. Tough things, but I am very honored to have been called up. This fight should have happened a long time ago. We need to face it for our children. We can't just push the problem forward. Please thank the President for us." I've heard that over and over. I asked every young American, "What do you need?" And no one said better equipment, no one said more comfortable living conditions, no one said send me home. Well, of course, eventually we all want those things. They want them too. But what these Americans told me, young and old, officers and enlisted, men and women, black and white, was, Let's finish the mission. Give us even more bombs, bigger bombs, more targets. Let us finish this. In fact, Admiral Cooper noted this morning that the 3 Air Force captains shot down by friendly fire from Kuwait at the beginning of the conflict, weeks ago, never left the theater of operations. They all dropped bombs on Tehran last night. These men and women live with the Iranian threat every day, with missiles and drones coming in, and they know what the world would be like if Iran had the most dangerous weapons in the world. A nuclear weapon, as President Trump has said repeatedly over the years and in this administration, Iran cannot have a nuclear bomb and they will not have one. These troops want to finish this fight for their children and grandchildren. This is about history, this is about legacy. Success matters, and because of this president and these Americans, we are closer than ever to winning. President Trump is doing what no other president had the courage to do. Previous presidents were just talk. He is all action. On the battlefield, because of the freedom the president gave us, American firepower is only increasing, while Iran's is decreasing. We keep gaining options while they have less and less. In just 1 month, only 1 month, we finally set all the rules. The next few days will be decisive. Iran knows this, and there's practically nothing they can do about it militarily. Yes, they'll still launch some missiles, we'll shoot them down. It's worth noting that in the last 24 hours, there was the lowest number of enemy missiles and drones launched by Iran. They'll hide underground, but we'll find them. Recently, we destroyed another one of their command bunkers. Leaders forced to flee, without water, without power, without oxygen, without command and control. Their faith in their caves is fading. The latest information comes from CENTCOM intelligence. It's clear our attacks are hurting the morale of the Iranian armed forces, leading to mass desertions, a lack of key personnel, and causing frustration among the senior leaders. Just last night, we carried out 200 dynamic attacks. A dynamic attack is when a pilot takes off and during the flight, they receive a new target based on real-time information, a new launcher, a new location, or a new troop formation. A dynamic target is one that changes while you're in the air due to improved intelligence. 200 dynamic attacks alone, in addition to the pre-planned targets. The video that the president posted last night. Isfahan, an ammunition depot hit by Zuar bombers. You see, you can't see many of these videos because, just to remind you, Iran still cut off the internet for 99.9% of its population. But if Iran is wise, they will make a deal. President Trump never bluffs or backs down. You can ask Khamenei about that. The new Iranian regime should already know this new regime, because there was a regime change, should be wiser than the previous one. President Trump will make a deal. He is willing, and the terms of the deal are known to them. If Iran is not willing, then the United States Department of War will continue with even more intensity. Being here this morning, in this press room in my mind's eye, I'm really looking at the groups I met this weekend. The pilots, the logistics personnel, the intelligence analysts, the target selectors, the support staff, the flight crews, the air defenders, the base security, those who do the maintenance. We walked at dusk, with the cold and the wind on the flight line. May God take care of all of them, protecting them every day and every night. May His almighty and eternal arms of providence reach out over them, protect them, and bring them peace. In the name of Jesus Christ, amen. Your Excellency, Mr. President, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Secretary. Good morning, everyone, and again, thank you for being here while operations are ongoing. I am grateful for the service and dedication of the 2.8 million members of our joint force, all committed to a greater cause. Diariamente aqueles em missão or preparing for bombing operations, and others put themselves in danger, and for that we owe them a deep debt of gratitude. I am especially grateful to our fallen, who made the ultimate sacrifice. We will never forget their courage and their determination to do something greater than themselves. And every day we continue to deserve what they gave us this morning. I want to share that yesterday the Joint Force took part in the burial of Colonel Clarence Emil Budd Anderson, who passed away in May 2024 at the age of 102, was buried yesterday at Arlington Cemetery. Arlington, next to his wife of 70 years, Eleanor, married on February 23, 1945. She passed away in 2015 at the age of 92. Budd, a legend of the Air Force and world aviation, received a flyover from an F-30 and 5 P-51 Mustangs. He was one of the most prolific fighter aces of World War II and the P-51 pilot with the highest number of victories, with 16 kills and a quarter while serving. Between 1942 and 1972, his last combat mission was flying an F-105 Thunderchief over North Vietnam. For anyone who had the chance to meet Colonel Anderson, they knew how special he was. And that's true for each of us and for every one of our World War II veterans, whose numbers are dwindling every day. They are the greatest generation, and they give us the gift of an incredible example in Operation Epic Fury. Today, Colonel Anderson, we mourn your loss and remember that smile on the right side when you went out to fulfill our nation's duty. Now, an operational update. Our joint force focuses on military objectives while degrading and destroying Iran's ability to project power and threaten stability beyond its borders. First, the joint force continues to destroy Iran's missile and UAV capabilities. We remain focused on neutralizing the logistical and supply chains of these programs. This continues to be a joint effort carried out 24 hours a day from the air, land, sea, space, and cyberspace. Long-range bombers from Sarajevo coordinate with joint force fighters launching from bases in the region and from the continental territory. Meanwhile, Navy fighters and sailors continue to project power from the sea. And Army and Marine artillery units carry out long-range precision strikes on enemy territory, targeting high-value objectives. Meanwhile, on defense, our Army and Air Force troops remain vigilant, protecting our forces and allies by intercepting missiles and drones. Together, we maintain precision strikes against production centers, component depots, and research facilities in Iranian territory. And throughout these last 30 days, we have managed to hit more than 11,000 targets. Given the increase in air superiority, we were able to successfully launch the first ground missions with the B-52, which allows us, as we've said before, to continue dominating the enemy. And as the Secretary mentioned, to increasingly focus on dynamic targets, engaging moving targets around the battlefield. We continue operations against Iran's missile, drone, and naval factories, maintaining the previously mentioned multi-domain pressure. Secondly, at sea, we maintain our dominance over the Iranian Navy. We focus on neutralizing their mine capabilities and naval assets, and as I mentioned, we have recently integrated helicopters and air support in the naval domain. CENTCOM continues to identify and act against depots and storage areas. And we have again taken action against more than 150 ships, including all Diamantina-class frigates. And thirdly, we continue to carry out our campaign against their defense industrial base on a large scale. This includes factories, warehouses, nuclear weapons research and development laboratories, and the associated infrastructure needed for Iran to restore its combat capability. I would like to continue with my theme of highlighting the incredible contributions of Americans to our joint force. Today, I want to talk a little about a different front line. A line that doesn't have bunkers or guard posts, but is just as crucial to the security of our country, our National Assembly lines. Today, I honor the Americans on the front line of our nation's combat power. Those who manufacture our weapons in our defense industrial base, but even more broadly, within our national industrial base for every military option. We couldn't do our job without the men and women from all over our country who show up every day at any time to production lines, workshops, or laboratories, building the capabilities needed to project American combat power at the time and place of our choosing. These great Americans I've worked with in the private sector are the essential core of our combat power. They are high-tech CNC machine operators turning metal into precise parts and assemblers who carefully take parts and turn them into guidance systems. Munitions, rocket engines, jets, or submarines? Or are they the quality assurance technicians who make sure that when a fighter pulls the trigger, the weapon works every time? This can be and is a tough and demanding job. It's not a quiet office with a desk and papers, and there's nothing wrong with that. But that's exactly how this group of Americans likes it. I know, I've seen it with my own eyes, and I feel honored by this gift. It's a loud, dangerous, and demanding job that requires absolute focus for hours and total commitment to get it right, always. It's a hands-on job where a single mistake or slip can put an American's life at risk. A wire out of place, a faulty weld, or a poorly calibrated sensor can mean the difference between mission success or failure. The difference is measured in the lives of our sons and daughters, whom we send to the field and to the battlefield. We trust and place our confidence in these great Americans. And it's not just for their skill in manufacturing, but also for their innovative minds and entrepreneurial spirit. From those who build extraordinary capabilities to the small family-run workshops spread across this great country, they are both the foundation and the core of U.S. combat capability. They unite us, always improving and learning all the time. And there are examples of this throughout history, even today, including the construction of things like the stealth fighter F-117, the stealth bomber B-2, making our combat capability undetectable to the enemy, up to the current B-21 and F-47. It's work like that done in the shipyards on the East Coast and Northeast of the United States, where American nuclear submarines are built, which allow us to patrol around the world at the time and place of our choosing. These innovators, these workers, these incredible Americans, they don't receive the same glory as a fighter pilot returning to the deck of an aircraft carrier at night or a gunner firing shells from a distance. And yet they show up every day, and without them we couldn't accomplish the work we've been assigned. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. They build the tools we need to do our job, the skill, the commitment, the patriotism, the dedication, put into every aspect of our combat capability and every piece of equipment. They can be seen and felt on the front line. As the Secretary mentioned about those young bomb assemblers in the desert whom he had the opportunity to meet, you can see it, you can feel it, and it's real. And we're deeply grateful. Therefore, to the American workforce out there, both within our defense industrial base and in the international industrial base, I thank you on behalf of the joint force. We carry the weapons you build, we rely on the systems you create, and the distance between the factory floor, the assembly line, and the front line is incredibly short. Thank you. Keep it up. And to our adversaries out there, I remind you to be careful. With the American workforce, we continue to advance our military objectives. The Secretary and I remain deeply honored by the spirit, tenacity, commitment, and determination of our joint force of 2.8 million members. I want, as always, to thank the force and their families, and as always, to remember our fallen. We carry them and their names with us every day. Sir, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. In memory of Colonel Bud Anderson, the President recently piloted an F-16 to honor him. Oh, and thank you for highlighting the Defense Industrial Base, the Arsenal of Freedom. It's worth noting that no one rebuilt that defense industrial base faster and with more purpose than President Trump did in his first term. And now we are rebuilding the Arsenal of Freedom. Our defense industrial base is more vibrant today than it has been since World War II and is growing rapidly. Compare that with Iran, whose defense industrial base is almost completely destroyed. Their ability to reconstitute the weapons of war they are using now, which they are hiding in underground facilities and wearing down, over time, their ability to rebuild. That's insignificant, and I think that contrast is also a lasting legacy of this. Well, here.
Thank you for your time. We've heard the Iranians may retake control of the Strait of Hormuz. At this moment, what military stance will be imposed to ensure safe passage for our allies, deter our enemies, and demonstrate Sister WAG's dominance in the region? And can you also comment on America's adversaries, Russia, China, North Korea, to what extent? They are supporting Iran's war machine right now with weapons and intelligence, and what are we doing militarily to punish the enemy coalition?
Thank you for both questions. Today, far more vessels pass through the Strait of Hormuz than before. As the president arranged, the president made it clear to Iran, open up for business, or we have options, and we certainly do. When you look at what the chairman of the Joint Chiefs laid out about the Navy, about the naval industrial base, about coastal cruise missiles, about UAVs, about mine countermeasure capabilities, we have focused from the beginning on wearing down and defeating these capabilities and limiting their options. Things that we are also doing, some of which are known, others not, to create the necessary conditions. And I believe the President was clear this morning in his statement that there are countries around the world that must also be prepared to act. In that important maritime channel, it's not just the United States Navy. As far as I know, there was supposed to be a powerful Royal Navy that could be prepared to do things like that as well. He points out that this international waterway is little used, much less than the others. You should pay attention and take a stand. President Trump has been doing the heavy lifting for the free world against the threat from Iran. It's not just our problem going forward, even though we've done most of the preparation to ensure that this strait remains open, which is an outcome that the president has been very clear about. As for Russia and China, we know exactly what they are doing, what they do or don't do. We don't need to make all of this public, but when necessary, we are dealing with it. I don't know if you have anything to add. No, I think you've said it all. Do you have a timeline for operations in the Strait?
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. David Zier, Real America's Voice. I saw that enthusiasm on the production lines, in the shipyards and steel mills. Incredible.
But I wanted to ask about the status of the delivery of reinforced bunkers for additional troop protection. And without going into details, what measures are we taking to protect strategic aircraft like the Sentry and Ultras?
Well, that's a great question. I would say that what I witnessed where I was a completely rigorous discipline in the use and improvement of the bunkers. So, from the beginning, as we stated very clearly, the first thing we did was set up a defense and make sure our defensive capabilities were at their maximum, even before all of this started. This included fortifications as much as possible, but it also included dispersion. If all our people are in one place, that's a big problem. So dispersion is part of our strategy, and along with this dispersion, more and more bunkers are appearing. I can say, after talking to Allied commanders in Israel and others, that we implemented this quickly, and so securing these positions is a top priority in the theater of operations. Just like layered air defenses, in addition to Patriots and TADS, it includes fighter jets, patrols, other kinetic systems, and electronic warfare systems. Therefore, the defense of our troops and assets is at its highest level. I'll comment on the other assets you mentioned, such as air wings and aircraft. Adversaries act to obtain data and intelligence that they shouldn't. We are aware of that, and in the end, we move things around. And one of the biggest principles you learn in the armed forces is not to establish patterns, predictable patterns, so we are. Commanders strive to adjust these systems, ensure proper positioning, and avoid easy targets.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. The United States and Iran seem to disagree now about whether these negotiations are actually underway. What impact does this have on the military strategy? Is this relevant in any way?
No way, General. The president wrote yesterday that the Sabri were, I think that's people, have to think about a strategy, think about one. The power plants and oil wells of Iran, those were his words before ending the operation. Is there any way to do any of those things without seriously endangering or severely harming civilians?
About the negotiations, I can tell you, having been with Steve, Jared, the Vice President, and Marco yesterday, that they are very real. They are ongoing, they are active, and I think they are gaining momentum, and we appreciate that. As I said in my remarks, we would much prefer to reach an agreement. If Iran were willing to give up the material and ambitions it has, that would be great. That's the goal. We don't want to have to do more militarily than necessary. I wasn't joking when I said we'll negotiate with bombs. Our job is to make sure that Iran
to realize that this new regime in power is in an even better and more advantageous position. If they make such a deal, we'll continue. We're working side by side, but the focus is on an agreement. If possible, we want to conclude this agreement as soon as possible, otherwise we're prepared to continue. Would you like to, Mr. President?
Yes, thank you for the question. Always carefully considering these issues and developing options to mitigate risks, following the normal practices established in the armed forces.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. I know you've already touched on this a bit, but specifically about the Strait of Hormuz. Opening the strait is an essential and important objective of Operation Epic Fury, or is that the task of other countries? And secondly, without asking you to comment on what you can talk about, what is the message to Americans who love the president and believe in him, but are concerned about troops on foreign soil? Our main objectives from this podium.
From my first day, the President of the Council, the Vice President, Secretary Rubio, and others have been clear. The production and missile programs, its defense industrial base, all its production capacity, as well as the Navy and power projections. So these have been the main points. Iran will never have nuclear weapons, that's clear. Defeating their Navy is essential to prevent them from projecting that kind of power from their shores. President Trump's statement makes it clear that the issue of the Strait of Hormuz, for which we have created conditions for success and will ensure that Iran knows this, is not just a problem for ZUA. We are willing to lead. President Trump has led all along, but it's not just us. Other countries should pay attention to the president's statement. He has already shown he means what he says and is emphasizing his position. Maybe he really should learn to fight. It's something some of us have been saying for a while. You can't just have flags, you need formations. A few ships aren't enough, you need real impact. These things matter in a dangerous world, with rising adversaries. That's why the president is talking about our industrial base, and we're launching the Arsenal of Freedom tour to revitalize it. President Trump is doing this in a unique way regarding troops on the ground. Não entendo porque a base. You already know this. You wouldn't have confidence in his ability to carry this out. Look at his track record of pursuing peace through strength with America First results. What he's simply saying, and it's exactly true, and I've also said this from this podium, is that we're not going to rule out any option. You can't fight and win a war if you tell your opponent what you are or aren't willing to do, including putting troops on the ground. Our opponent at this moment
thinks there are 15 different ways to attack them with ground troops, and guess what? There are.
Therefore, if we really needed to, we could carry out those options on behalf of the president and this department. Maybe we won't use them after all, maybe negotiations will work, or maybe there's another approach. The key is to stay unpredictable and not show your intentions. But if someone has internalized the lessons from Iraq and Afghanistan, like President Trump, who was the first to denounce them, he's not going to repeat those mistakes.
He's been clear about that, yes, from the podium.
Thank you. Secretary Hegseth, I have a question for you and another for General Kane. You said we've already been a month into Operation Epic Fury. How long until the objectives are achieved? And is there a scenario where an agreement is made before reaching the objectives? As for General Kane, media coverage suggests an imminent ground invasion. What other specific purposes do the soldiers and Marines deployed to the Middle East serve in this conflict?
Well, just like in the previous question, that's kind of basic military strategy. Don't tell your enemy what you're willing to do or not do, and don't tell your enemy when you're willing to stop. Especially an enemy who likes to hide in bunkers, try to stockpile their missiles, and wait for you to give up. So, that's not a question that I'm going to answer or that the president has answered definitively. We have our own objectives, guidelines, and goals, ongoing military objectives, and things that we analyze. It could take 4, 6, or 8 weeks, but we would never reveal the exact timeline because our focus is on achieving those objectives, and we're doing very well. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and I review this daily. It will be the president's decision and his alone when those objectives are completed and when it is in the interest of the American people to close that deal to ensure that Iran does not have a nuclear weapon. Ultimately, the ability for our objectives or interests to be advanced. Anything else? Mr. President?
No, just to answer your question, Reagan. The range of military options that these forces offer is extensive, not limited only to what you mentioned. On land, I wouldn't want to restrict the president's decision-making space, but there are countless possibilities. At the very least, Iran must realize that they are there and that they represent a pressure point. So, they must carefully assess at the diplomatic level as president, but they must consider what is in front of them.
Jerry.
Sir. Well, Mr. Secretary, U.S. intelligence has assessed for many years that Iran protects al-Qaeda leaders, including the current emir, Saif al-Adel. He is also believed to still be in Iran as he fled to Afghanistan. He is on some target list. And you, Mr. President, based on CENTCOM data and various open sources, according to an Iranian newspaper, missile bombings and drone launches have decreased drastically since the beginning of the war, but they haven't reached zero. And everything indicates that they have kept it at a considerably low level. But stable numbers may have dropped a little more in the last few days. How can we get closer to zero? And what impact is Iran's degraded but still very real capability having on current and future operations? So,
I won't comment on a specific target. I'll just say that al-Qaeda remains our enemy, and there are many people on our target list in Iran. If they are harboring al-Qaeda, they would certainly be on it.
Só rapidamente.
You know, the moving targets we attacked, as the Secretary mentioned, the 200 strikes that were carried out last night, that helps with the ongoing reduction. The second long-term impact is the broad attacks on their defense industrial base, preventing their future resupply. So we see a downward trend. They're still firing. We're putting strong pressure on both sides of the system.
Secretary, thank you for the question. Do you still believe you had previously said that the Iranian leadership would surrender? Do you still believe that? Is the United States still committed to NATO's collective defense? And for President Kaney, could you give us an idea of your thoughts on the legality of attacking desalination plants if the president ordered it?
I would say that a mission is completed.
On our terms, you can call it surrender or defeat. Call it whatever you want. We remain committed to a conflict that ends on our terms and the president's. There's no doubt about that. As for NATO, that decision is up to the president, but I'll say that a lot has been exposed. A lot has been shown to the world about what our allies would be willing to do for the United States of America. When we undertake an effort of this magnitude on behalf of the free world, they don't even reach the United States. They hit allies and others. But when we ask for assistance or access to bases and overflight, we receive questions and obstacles. The president points out that there is no real alliance if countries are not willing to stand by your side when you need them. He is pointing this out, and in the end we'll decide how everything will turn out after the conclusion.
Look, I'm not going to talk about any specific target. This complements Jillian's question, which I think I didn't fully answer. But, as you know, the joint forces are professional and use various processes and systems to carefully assess all factors, from civilian risks to the legal issues of each target. As targets come before us, we subject them to the same process as always and strike legitimate targets according to our standard procedures.
President, do you believe there will be no truce or mercy for the enemies? Yang, go ahead. Me?
Is that okay?
Thank you, Secretary. No domingo, o presidente Trump disse, the first Iranian regime was destroyed and the second is almost extinct. This current third regime is more reasonable in negotiations. Do you agree with that? Why?
I'll leave that answer to the negotiation team. They are in contact and maintain a dialogue about the terms. It's a productive step forward, and we are there, alongside our negotiation team.
always willing and prepared to put them in an even better position.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.